to become a Canadian. When you come here, you want to bring your family with you because when you bring your family, you put down roots and you start bringing you start saying, this is where I'm going to live. This is where my family are going to grow up. My children are going to have a stake in this. My grandchildren are going to have a stake in this. And therefore, immigrants and refugees begin to say, well, you know what? I'm going to build this nation. I'm going to make it strong. It's my country now. And so that's why family reunification is so very important. So on that note, I would like to hand the mic over to the Honorable Sean, Mr. Sexy Fraser.
Thank you. Sexy, that's good. Thank you, Wilson. Look, thank you so much, Dr. Fry, for joining me in this event. I'd like to as well acknowledge my cousin Miao, the Member of Parliament for Richmond Centre, for joining here today. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Bonjour tous, merci d'être venu. And thank you, in particular, to Mark Lieberman and Mink Chocolates for providing us with the venue here today. Very appropriate given the nature of the announcement that we're hosting it at a venue that's known for bringing couples together. We're here because we have some very good news to share that's been in the works for quite a few months, and for families who are wanting to come to Canada and, more importantly, to build their lives in this country. My belief is that families are meant to be together, especially during life's big moments, like moving to a new country. That's why we're working in Canada to help families reunite more quickly and easily, and to support them once they're here as well. You know, in Canada, immigration, it's not just something we do, it's who we are. It's part of our DNA. The reality is, if you're not from an Indigenous community, the opening chapter in your family's history was written by a migrant. It's a tradition we have in Canada that we continue to welcome newcomers. It's the way that we have developed over the more than 150 years of our history, and it's the way that we're going to continue future. Au Canada, l'immigration n'est pas seulement une politique, c'est notre identité. Le regroupement familial est l'une des principaux piliers du système d'immigration du Canada. Family reunification is one of the core pillars of Canada's immigration system, in addition to economic migration and to resettling vulnerable people. And we know that reuniting families leads to improved emotional well-being, physical health, mental health, and financial stability for the families that come to our country. Nous savons en effet que le regroupement familial permet d'améliorer le bien-être émotionnel, la santé physique et mentale, et la stabilité financière. When newcomers know that they can bring their families with them when they come work in Canada, it helps them choose Canada in the first place. Make no mistake, ambitious family reunification policy is also ambitious economic policy, and that helps create a competitive landscape for our country in the global race for talent, which has only become more competitive over the last number of years. So we're making a number of improvements to our family reunification process in Canada. At present, family members from visa-required countries who've submitted family class permanent residency applications and are waiting for it to be finalized, they can apply for a temporary residency visa so they can join their sponsor in Canada. But far too many are refused on the basis that they're unlikely to return home, despite the fact that an overwhelming majority, well over 90% of these people, are approved for permanent residency after their application is completed processing. I'm so pleased to share that by increasing our use of technology, advanced analytics, and streamlining our processing, we've done a couple of very important things in recent months. We've successfully eliminated the backlog of temporary residence visas for family members who already have a permanent residency application in process. And very importantly, our new approach towards spousal TRV applications has approved well in advance of 98% of applications, so spouses and their kids can be with their families while they await the processing of their permanent residency application. Going forward, this new approach to processing spousal and children's TRV applications are going to lead to a processing time within 30 days. It is so important that while people who are going through the permanent residency application process after today's announcement are going to be better able to be with their families while they await the application process. This means that family members will be able to travel to Canada more quickly and be with their loved ones sooner than was previously the case. Cette mesure signifie que les membres d'une famille pourront venir au Canada et retrouver leurs proches encore plus tôt. I'm also happy to report that our modernization efforts have enabled us to process new permanent residency applications within the 12-month standard that we enjoyed before the pandemic. We've been meeting that standard back since July. Je suis également heureux de vous annoncer que nos efforts de modernisation nous ont permis de traiter la plupart des nouvelles demandes de résidence permanente dans un délai de 12 mois. Depuis juillet dernier, nous respectons au niveau cet nombre de services. Now, after newcomers arrive in Canada, we know it's critical that they're able to support themselves and families as well as soon as possible. Après l'arrivée de nouveaux arrivants au Canada, nous savons qu'il est essentiel qu'ils puissent subvenir à leurs besoins et ceux de leur famille le plus rapidement possible. That's why we're also announcing today that we're launching a new initiative that will issue open work permits to spousal applicants and their dependent children, regardless of whether they applied under the Family Class Program for overseas applicants or under the Spouse or Common Law Partner in Canada class. C'est pourquoi j'annonce également le lancement d'une politique publique temporaire visant à délivrer des permis de travail ouverts aux demandeurs conjoints et à leurs enfants à charge. Cette politique s'appliquera aussi bien aux demandeurs d'outre-mer de la catégorie regroupement familial que ceux de la catégorie époux ou conjoint de fait au Canada. This initiative builds from a pilot program that was previously available under the In-Canada Spousal Program only and is now being extended to applicants who make their application from outside of Canada. Last but not least, beginning June 7th, many open work permit holders whose current permit expires by the end of 2023 will be able to extend their permits for an additional 18 months using a free facilitated process like the one that we've recently used to extend postgraduate work permit holders. And this is going to impact about 25,000 people who currently are in Canada and have the ability to work. This process will be available to a number of open work permit holder categories, and sticking with today's theme of keeping families together, it includes spouses and dependents of most workers who are here temporarily, spouses of international students, and permanent residence applicants and their spouses and dependents who are waiting for their permanent residency to be finalized. So these are the family-focused measures that our government is taking. We're approving TRVs through a new process and a much higher approval rate for family members with the pending permanent residency application. We're accelerating the process of temporary residence visas, and we're issuing open work permits to family members who find themselves in this position. Voilà donc les mesures axées sur la famille que prend notre ministère. Accélérer le traitement des visas de résidents temporaires et délivrer des permis de travail ouverts aux membres de la famille. I think these measures are going to benefit not just newcomers to Canada, but everyone who calls this country home. Our future is going to continue to be shaped by immigration in the years ahead, so we need to seize the opportunity to attract the people that we need to grow our economy, to strengthen our diversity, and to support our sense of community. We all know that families are stronger when they're together, and we want to help them unite and prosper here. That means enabling newcomers to bring their families to Canada and enabling those family members to get jobs here at a pace that doesn't pose so much of a barrier to those families who are seeking to call Canada home. If we're going to count on newcomers for our economic well-being, it's my belief that we owe it to them to provide a pathway to be with their families so they can enjoy life with the ones that they care about most. At the same time, they make an important contribution to our country and to their community. Thank you. Merci. C'est un plaisir d'être ici. Merci tout le monde. I'm very happy to stick around to take a few questions you may have. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it's okay. Thank you very much, Minister Fraser. I think that's a very important announcement for many people who know when I came here as an immigrant many years ago in 1970, I'm an only child and my parents were left as they age, and I worried about them a great deal and how they were going to take care of themselves and how I was going to take care of them, except they didn't want to come. They loved where they lived and wanted to stay there. But I think it's really important to put down those roots. So it's a great announcement, and to also be able to build the kind of base for economic growth, for jobs, and the security that comes.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Minister?
Mr. Perry, just wait a moment.
Sure, no problem.
Your line is open, so
thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, hey, 1, 2. Hey, hey, 1, 2.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Thank you, Minister. We'll now move on to our question and answer session with the media. Merci. Nous allons maintenant procéder avec la période de questions des médias. Welcome to those who have joined on the phone. Bienvenue à ceux et celles qui se joignent à nous par téléphone. We will alternate between questions here on the floor and those on the phone. Nous allons alterner entre les questions des journalistes sur place et sur téléphone. Participation in the question and answer session is for accredited members of the media. Before asking your question, we ask that you state your name and media outlet. In the interest of time, you may ask one question today. La participation à la séance de questions et réponses est réservée aux membres accrédités du média. Avant de poser votre question, veuillez donner votre nom et le média que vous représentez. Vous avez le droit de demander une question, car nous n'avons pas beaucoup de temps aujourd'hui. Operator, please provide
Mr. Perry?
instructions to those on the phone.
Go ahead, Mr. Perry.
Hi, Minister. Thanks very much for taking our questions. Can I just ask you, I don't have a news release, so I've just been listening to your remarks. Are you waiving the temporary intention requirement for spouses so that they'll still have to leave Canada by an authorized date, or are you just sort of saying that more people will be able to get these temporary visas?
Look, thanks very much. It's an excellent question, and the mechanic operates differently than a waiver, and we've been testing it out over the past few months with a more limited cohort of applicants with a pending permanent residency application, and we found that the strategy we've employed that uses advanced analytics in particular to identify those permanent residency applicants who have a high likelihood of approval to ensure that they're approved for eligibility to come to Canada. By leveraging new technologies, we've been able to approve well in advance of well over 90% of the applicants who have a pending permanent residency application, which reflects approximately the success rate of permanent residency applications who come through the spousal sponsorship streams. This is an extremely effective way to marry the ability for people who are going to be successful when it comes to permanent residency applications to similarly experience success when they apply to come here temporarily. This is a very important change in our approach that's going to allow the vast majority of people, again, well in excess of 90% of the spousal and children TRV applicants, to be in Canada temporarily while they await the determination of their permanent residency without a formal waiver of the Regulation 179 sub B, for those who are familiar with it, that allows us to both respect the legislative obligations, protect the integrity of the immigration system, but still reunite families while they await final determination of their permanent residency application.
Thank you, Minister.
Can I ask what you mean by... Okay.
Yeah, go ahead with your follow-up.
Can I ask what you mean by advanced analytics?
Yes, so at the end of the day, our officers still make every determination for eligibility. It's not something that's done automatically. No one is, it's not possible for anyone to be denied through this technological solution. But we've adopted new technologies over the past number of years at IRCC that allow us to look across a number of factors on a person's application, determine the likelihood that they're going to be eligible for permanent residency, and put those people in a category that's more easily approved more quickly and more easily with greater regularity by our officers. We use these new technologies across a wide variety of our immigration systems, and what we've seen is massive gains in productivity. In a particular instance, we've been able to identify those applicants who we believe are going to qualify for permanent residency, which is the vast majority. Year to year, it'll be in the mid to high 90%, and we'll similarly have that kind of approval rate. Just for your awareness, since earlier this year, a few months back, we initially started with a little more than half of the applicants, and we've now been moving it to about 70% of the applicants, and very soon we'll be able to apply this new strategy for all of the spousal and family TRV applications. And what we've seen so far is an approval rate that similarly reflects the approval rate for permanent residency applications, often in the mid to high 90% range, which is excellent news. It demonstrates to me that this approach is working effectively and will allow more families to be together as they wait the processing of their permanent residency application.
We're just going to move to a question on the floor here.
Hi, Minister. Chuck Cheng with Canadian Press. Thank you for your time today. So I was wondering, how much will this new tool, in terms of helping family reunification, be reliant on database decision making or AI? Specialists who have expressed concerns about the use of AI potentially discriminating or leaving some family disadvantaged when it comes to considering their cases. So just hoping to get an idea how technology is going to be leveraged in this tool.
Yeah, this is extremely important. And just to put to bed any fears that this is going to lead to discriminatory results, we in fact are seeing massive improvements in the approval rates and the timelines for processing. So just to put a finer point on this, the approval rate for the cohorts that we've been using have been in the mid to high 90 percentile range. This is very, very good news. It's a dramatic improvement for people who were hit or miss with their applications before. So it's led to better outcomes across the board, regardless of who might be applying. What we've seen is that when we use the advanced analytics, we can speed up the process for our officers. But just to dispel any fears that may exist, a human being who works for our department is still responsible for every final decision. It is not possible for an AI system or an advanced analytics system to make a final determination on a person's admissibility or eligibility. This is something that we need to continue to have our officers do to protect the integrity of the decision-making process, but by leveraging the tools, we can speed up the timelines and put the officers in a position to more quickly and more effectively render that final decision with an extremely high approval rate.
Thank you very much. This next question is for Hedy Fry. Just please remind you one question and state your media outlet, please.
Hi, Minister. Global News.
Hello?
Over here.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Yes, good.
What do you think about the Safe Supply program and how it's being delivered?
I think the Safe Supply program is essential to deal with the issue of tainted drugs that we are getting on the street scene. So Safe Supply is working in other countries. It's working very well in Switzerland. It's working very well in Portugal. It's working very well in the Scandinavian countries. And what it does is it saves lives. And when lives are saved, a lot of people who are and who are living difficult lives suddenly find that they're life and they want to go into treatment. Safe Supply is important first and foremost to save lives. I think there's a low number of drugs that we can get because there's a global supply problem here. And I think that we have some companies that are trying to create these drugs in Canada on a non-profit basis as safe pharmaceuticals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and that will conclude our event for today.
Certainly. Just if I may wrap, is
sure.
it okay to offer a comment on that last question? I've got family members who work in healthcare that deal with people who live with addictions. We need to treat addictions as a health issue, not a criminal issue. The reality is Safe Supply, absolutely, the science will demonstrate, saves people's lives. The policies that we're seeing being peddled by the Conservative leader and other politicians who sit in the House of Commons is going to lead to more Canadians dying needlessly. This is something that we need to defend with everything we have to protect the well-being of Canadians. People will tell you it might be better to pursue recovery programs instead of Safe Supply. The two need not be mutually exclusive. It is extremely important that we continue to follow the science and focus on solutions that are going to allow a person to survive so they can seek the treatment they need to be well. You cannot save the life of a person who has already died of an overdose from an opioid addiction. If we actually treat people who live with addictions as human beings, recognize that we have the tools we need to keep them alive and can provide services to protect their health and well-being, we will be better off over the long term. I've been frankly disgusted by some of the debates that I've seen play out, that people who I expect should know better are willing to score political points, knowing that the policies that they're advocating for are going to lead to more dead Canadians. It is not okay, and we need to continue to follow the science to protect the lives and well-being of Canadians who live with addictions and treat them like human beings who are in need of help, not criminal problems that we can easily dismiss. Thank you. And thank you very much, everyone. Pleasure to be with you in Vancouver.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you. You're welcome to contact the Media Relations contact listed in the Media Advisor if you have any further questions. Thank you very much for coming.